Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell for new stories. The story begins with Captain Alaric Holt, a seasoned human explorer, arriving on an uncharted planet in the Calthar system, an ancient, mysterious sector of space. His mission is to investigate anomalies detected by deep space sensors, but he finds something unexpected, an alien species thought to be extinct. While surveying the planet's lush, alien forests, Holt stumbles upon a young, otherworldly woman named Lyra. With silver-tinted skin, luminous violet eyes, and a delicate yet powerful presence, Lyra is unlike any being Holt has ever seen. She is the last of her kind, the Zalari, a race known for their unrivaled intelligence and strength but also their tragic downfall in a galaxy-wide war millennia ago. The planet's sudden violent storms force Holt to take shelter, and to his shock, Lyra, though seemingly frail, is able to command the elements to calm the storm and protect both of them. As they find refuge in a nearby cave, Lyra reveals that she has been waiting for someone human. She explains in her ancient language that she has been searching the galaxy for the one who can be her guardian, a protector who will shield her from a growing, deadly threat that hunts her and her kind. Holt is skeptical but intrigued. Despite his disbelief, he feels an undeniable pull toward Lyra. There's a connection and attraction neither can explain. As they rest, an alien force begins to approach. Holt's military instincts kick in, and he prepares for a confrontation. Lyra, though, insists that she must face this alone. The enemy finally arrives, a terrifying, mechanical army of ruthless alien hunters known as the Drathan. These creatures are relentless and seemingly unstoppable, equipped with weapons capable of destroying entire planets. Holt and Lyra are forced to flee, and as the battle ensues, Holt is both amazed and terrified by Lyra's otherworldly abilities. She manipulates energy with ease, bending the very fabric of reality to her will. Despite her power, however, it becomes clear that her enemies are too numerous, and the situation grows desperate. Holt must make a choice: fight beside Lyra or leave her to face this overwhelming threat alone. Holt makes the decision to stay and protect Lyra, offering his skills as a soldier to help her fend off the Drathan. They fight side by side, but Lyra is injured in the skirmish. In a moment of vulnerability, she confides in Holt about her past and the fall of the Zalari civilization. Lyra shares that her people once ruled vast parts of the galaxy, but their empire was destroyed when they became too powerful and attracted the jealousy of the Drathan. Now the last Zalari are hunted relentlessly. Holt promises to help her rebuild and protect her, swearing an oath of loyalty to her cause. Their bond deepens as they learn to trust each other, but as the night approaches, a deadly new wave of enemies arrives. With the Drathan closing in, Holt and Lyra seek refuge in the ancient Zalari ruins deep within the planet's core. While hiding, Lyra reveals a hidden power, an artifact from her people's past that holds the key to defeating the Drathan. However, the artifact is incomplete, and it requires Holt's assistance to unlock its full potential. As they delve deeper into the artifact's mysteries, Holt learns that the power it contains is something far greater than he could have imagined. But unlocking it could come at a price that neither of them is ready to pay. They must make a difficult decision: risk everything to use the artifact or find another way. Holt and Lyra are forced into a fierce battle against the Drathan, and Holt's human ingenuity is tested to the limit as they attempt to use the artifact's power. As the battle rages on, Lyra reveals the tragic truth behind the Zalari's downfall. Their people's immense power was what led to their destruction. In trying to harness the artifact's potential, the Zalari triggered their own demise. Holt realizes that this power might come with irreversible consequences. Yet, seeing the devastation around them, Holt decides to take the risk and uses the artifact to unleash a devastating energy pulse that drives the Drathan back, but at a great cost. Lyra is nearly killed in the process, and Holt is left questioning whether he made the right choice. In the aftermath of their victory, the bond between Holt and Lyra grows even stronger. They begin to develop a deeper emotional connection, and Holt finds himself torn between his duty to protect her and his growing feelings for her. But just as they begin to find hope, a new, unexpected twist occurs. One of Holt's crew members, who was believed to be dead, is revealed to be working with the Drathan all along. The traitor has been manipulating events from the shadows, and now, with the Drathan regrouping, he has a sinister plan to use Lyra's power for his own ends. Holt must confront this betrayal, and in doing so, he is forced to make a sacrifice that could change everything. In the final battle, Holt faces off against the traitor and the remaining Drathan forces in a desperate attempt to save Lyra and prevent the universe from falling into chaos. With the artifact's power nearly spent, Holt is forced to rely on his humanity, his emotions, his strength, and his will to protect those he loves. As the battle reaches its climax, Holt's unwavering devotion to Lyra and his determination to preserve the galaxy's future lead him to a shocking decision. He must sacrifice himself to ensure her survival and the survival of the Zalari legacy. In the end, Lyra is left with the painful knowledge that she may be the last of her kind, but the human spirit, the very essence of what makes humanity unique, has given her hope for the future. As the storm rages outside, Holt's heart races. He grips his pulse rifle tightly, eyes scanning the shadows. Lyra's presence is like a quiet beacon in the chaos around them. Despite the sheer power of the storm, she remains calm, poised, her violet eyes gleaming with an ethereal, otherworldly intensity. Holt can't shake the feeling that he's out of his depth here. This planet, this alien, and the mysterious forces she's running from are far beyond anything he's encountered in his career as a soldier. "I need to know more," Holt says, his voice low but determined. "What exactly is it that's hunting you?" Lyra stands, a silent figure against the cave's dim light. She lifts her hand and, with a subtle gesture, the air seems to shift, calming the storm outside as though her will alone is bending reality. "The Drathan," she whispers, her voice carrying the weight of untold centuries of grief and loss. "They were once just another savage race, another species with an insatiable hunger for war and conquest. But they changed. They grew stronger, learned new methods. Now they hunt us relentlessly." "The Zalari?" Holt asks, glancing at the faint markings on the cave walls, ancient symbols that seem to pulse with energy. Lyra nods. "We were once the rulers of this galaxy. A highly advanced civilization with powers beyond comprehension. The Drathan feared us and so they destroyed us, piece by piece. Our people are scattered, hunted down to the last, and I—" She pauses, her eyes flickering with something darker than just sorrow. "I am the last." Holt steps forward, drawn to her quiet strength. "And you're telling me that I'm supposed to protect you?" Lyra's eyes meet his, and for a long moment he's trapped in her gaze. It's not just the vulnerability in her eyes, there's something more. Something primal, something that pulls at the very core of his being, a force he can't quite explain. The words spill from his lips before he can stop them. "I'm no protector. I'm just a soldier." "You are more than that," she replies softly. Her voice holds a strange certainty. "The Drathan will stop at nothing. They will destroy every last one of us if I cannot find a way to stop them." The wind howls through the cave entrance again, and suddenly, Holt feels the weight of her words pressing down on him. In the pit of his stomach, a cold sense of dread rises. He may not know why, but the urgency in her voice feels real. "There's no time to waste. I'm not going to let them get you," Holt declares, gripping his weapon tighter. "But I need you to explain exactly what we're up against." Before Lyra can answer, the faintest sound, like a distant hum, reaches his ears. Holt tenses, immediately on alert. He motions for Lyra to stay close and steps cautiously toward the cave entrance. Through the opening, the clouds above seem to swirl unnaturally, casting an eerie, shifting glow on the landscape. The hum grows louder, sharper, and then, through the haze, figures begin to emerge. Holt's heart skips a beat as he recognizes them. Shapes, shifting silhouettes in the distance, closing in with terrifying speed. "The Drathan. They've found us," Lyra whispers, her voice trembling for the first time. A group of towering, insectoid creatures, twisted amalgamations of metal and organic flesh, begin to materialize from the fog. Their exoskeletal bodies are covered in jagged armor, and their glowing red eyes pierce through the darkness like hungry predators stalking their prey. These are not the primitive creatures Lyra had described. These are the soldiers, the elite forces of the Drathan. Holt's pulse quickens and his mind races. His military training kicks in as he assesses their numbers, at least 5 of them, all armed with advanced energy weaponry. The Drathan's technology is devastating, but they're not invincible. Holt knows he can't face them head-on in this terrain. They'll be slaughtered before they even have a chance to fight back. "Get back," Holt orders, his voice firm and commanding. Lyra hesitates but nods, retreating deeper into the cave. Holt moves swiftly to block her path, positioning himself between her and the approaching threat. His fingers fly over his wrist calm, sending a distress signal to his ship in orbit. It's a long shot. The storm's interference makes it almost impossible to reach anyone, but it's all he can do. The Drathan grow closer, their mechanical limbs clicking ominously as they move. Holt's mind races for a solution. He can't fight them off with his pulse rifle alone. They're too well equipped and there are too many of them. "Is there any way we can fight them off?" Holt asks, his eyes darting back to Lyra, who stands just behind him. He can see the conflict in her expression. She knows the stakes and it's clear she's not afraid to fight, but her power alone might not be enough. Lyra's eyes glow faintly and she raises her hand, concentrating. The air around them seems to shift, growing colder, heavier. Energy crackles in the air as if the very atmosphere is charged with tension. I can try, she says, her voice steady, though there's a flicker of uncertainty behind her eyes. Before Holt can ask what she means, the first Drathan lunges forward, its elongated limbs reaching for him. Holt reacts instantly, rolling to the side and firing his weapon. The energy blast hits the creature's armored hide, but it doesn't even flinch. The creature hisses and charges again, moving faster than Holt can anticipate. Lyra steps forward, her fingers outstretched. With a wave of her hand, a shockwave ripples through the air. The Drathan freezes, momentarily stunned by the force of the wave. Holt's heart pounds as he watches Lyra, her focus unwavering as she channels all her energy into the attack. Move, she shouts, her voice laced with power. The ground shakes as the Drathan recoil, and Holt takes the opportunity to launch a barrage of plasma rounds at the nearest one. But the victory is short-lived. More Drathan emerge from the shadows, their numbers overwhelming. The battle is just beginning, and Holt realizes that no matter how powerful Lyra is, the Drathan will not stop until they have her. The stakes have just escalated, and the only way out may be for them to stand and fight, together. The air is thick with tension. Holt's pulse rifle hums, the sound of plasma rounds cutting through the air, but it's not enough. The Drathan are relentless, their insectoid bodies moving with an unnatural speed and precision. Holt is fighting on instinct now, his mind racing, but his body is beginning to feel the strain. He's used to battle, but this feels different. It's a fight he's not sure he can win. Lyra, however, seems to be in her element. Her silver skin glows faintly as she channels her power, her eyes alight with focused energy. She stands with a serene grace, as if the chaos around her is just another part of the world she has learned to control. With each movement of her hands, the air around her shimmers with the raw force of her will, sending shockwaves through the Drathan ranks and knocking them back, one by one. Holt watches in awe as she commands the elements, air, fire, energy itself, as though they are her very servants. The Drathan hesitate, momentarily stunned by the display of power, but they recover quickly. The first wave retreats, only to be replaced by reinforcements. The enemies are multiplying and Holt knows that their time is running out. Lyra. Holt shouts, his voice strained. We need to move. We can't stay here. Lyra doesn't respond, her concentration unwavering as she manipulates the energy around her. For a moment, Holt feels helpless, like he's the one holding them both back. The Drathan charge once more, their weapons charged and ready. The air crackles with the threat of imminent destruction. Lyra, please? Holt pleads, running toward her. He feels the heat of the plasma fire near his face and instinctively ducks, rolling to the side. He reaches her, placing a hand on her shoulder. She turns to face him, her violet eyes locking onto his, and for a brief moment, Holt feels the pull of something deeper. There's a bond between them, something unspoken but undeniable. Her voice is soft but firm, filled with the weight of centuries of wisdom and loss. I'm not afraid of them, Captain Holt, she says, her voice steady. But I cannot do this alone. Holt stares at her, the magnitude of her words settling in his chest. He doesn't know why he feels this way, but every fiber of his being tells him that she is telling the truth. He's no hero, but for her, maybe he could be. The Drathan close in, their eyes glowing with hunger, their massive forms looming larger with each passing second. Holt realizes in that moment that he cannot leave her. He won't leave her. She may be the last of her kind, but if anyone can survive this, if anyone can make a stand, it's her. And if he's going to stand by her side, then he'll do it with everything he has. I'll protect you, he says, his voice firm, more determined than ever. Lyra looks at him, her expression softening. She doesn't speak, but she gives him a small nod, a silent acknowledgement of the promise he just made. Then she turns back to the Drathan, her energy flaring up once again. Holt takes his position beside her, his back straight, his weapon ready. The Drathan charge forward, but this time Holt doesn't flinch. He stands beside Lyra, watching as the first wave of enemies descends upon them. With a shout, he opens fire, the pulse rifle kicking in his hands. The energy bolts streak toward the approaching Drathan, but their armor deflects most of the shots. It's not enough to stop them, but it buys them precious seconds. Lyra raises her hand and the ground shakes. A ripple of energy flows outward from her fingertips, sending a wave of force toward the Drathan. The blast knocks the first few off their feet, but more take their place. Holt grits his teeth, pushing forward, unwilling to let the Drathan take another step. "Stay close to me," Lyra commands, her voice steady. Her eyes flare with power as she unleashes another wave of energy. This time it's different. It's sharper, more focused, and it slices through the Drathan ranks like a blade. Several of the creatures fall, but even as they do, others emerge from the shadows, their numbers unending. Holt's breath quickens as he fires again, but this time the situation is more dire. They're being overwhelmed. The Drathan are closing in from all sides, and Holt can feel the weight of the battle pressing down on them. He fires again and again, but it's not enough. He's running out of time, and so is Lyra. Her power is strong, but he can see the strain on her face. The energy she's wielding is taking its toll on her, and he knows they need a plan, a better one. "Lyra, we need to get to higher ground," Holt says through gritted teeth. "If we can get to the ridge above, we'll have the advantage." Lyra looks at him, her brow furrowing for a moment. Then she nods, and with a swift motion, she sweeps her hand through the air. A gust of wind propels them both upward, lifting them from the ground and sending them soaring toward the ridge. Holt gasps as the world spins around him, but he holds on tight. His heart pounds, but he's more alive than he's ever been. They land on the ridge with a thud, and Holt quickly takes cover behind a large boulder. Lyra's energy swirls around her, the glow in her eyes intensifying as she prepares for the next wave of Drathan. Holt surveys the area, taking in the terrain. They have a brief moment of respite, but they can't stay here for long. "Get ready," Holt says, his voice steady as he prepares to fire again. "This is it." Lyra raises her hands, her eyes narrowing as she concentrates. The wind picks up, swirling around them, and the air crackles with power. Holt grips his pulse rifle tighter, feeling the weight of the moment. The Drathan are coming. And this time they won't be running. The ridge offers them a brief moment of respite, but the Drathan are relentless. From their vantage point, Holt and Lyra can see the shadows of the enemy moving closer. More of them in even greater numbers. The Drathan are persistent, their insectoid forms swarming across the battlefield, relentless in their pursuit. Holt knows that if they don't do something drastic soon, the tide will turn against them. "Lyra," Holt says, his voice low but urgent, "we need to figure out how to finish this. They won't stop until you're gone." Lyra stands silently beside him, her glowing eyes fixed on the approaching threat. She is no stranger to such losses, but Holt can feel the weight of the moment pressing on her. The battle has drained her, and yet, there's still a quiet strength beneath the surface. Something untapped, something beyond the obvious. "I know," she replies softly, her voice distant, as if contemplating something far beyond this moment. "But there is one more way." Holt turns to her, his gaze sharp. "What do you mean?" "We're running out of time." Lyra takes a deep breath, her expression growing serious. She looks toward the distant ruins nestled in the valley below them, ancient structures barely visible through the mist. "There is an artifact," she says, her voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. "An artifact of the Zalari hidden deep within the old ruins. It holds the power to destroy the Drathan, but I am not sure it will work. I have not been able to access it for centuries." Holt narrows his eyes, his instincts kicking in. "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" "I did not think it would be necessary," Lyra responds quietly, her eyes filled with a quiet sadness. "The Drathan's forces have never been so close to defeating us. This artifact, it is not just a weapon. It is the essence of our people, their power, their very souls. If we use it, there will be consequences." Holt's mind races. "What kind of consequences?" Lyra hesitates before answering, her gaze flickering toward the distant ruins. "The artifact can only be wielded by someone who carries the Zalari bloodline. I am the last of the Zalari, and yet, I'm not whole. I cannot unlock it fully, not without the risk of what?" Holt presses. "Of destroying myself," Lyra finishes, her voice barely above a whisper. She turns to him, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that almost takes his breath away. "I do not know if I will survive once the artifact is activated. But if we do not act now, the Drathan will destroy everything, and my people's legacy will be lost forever." Holt feels a pang in his chest. There's so much at stake, not just for Lyra but for everything she represents. The weight of her people's history is in her hands, and if the artifact doesn't work, it could all come crashing down. And yet, without it, they have no hope. "I'll help you," Holt says, his voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling in his mind. "Whatever it takes." Lyra's gaze softens for a brief moment. She nods, a silent acknowledgement of his promise, before turning back to the distant ruins. The Drathen are drawing nearer, their numbers swelling like a dark tide. Holt feels the pressure mounting. Time is running out. We'll need to move fast, Holt says, checking his pulse rifle one last time. Lead the way. Lyra nods again, and with a swift motion, she gestures for Holt to follow. As they descend the ridge, the world around them seems to quieten, the chaos of the battlefield fading into the background. Lyra leads them toward the ancient Zalari ruins, her movements fluid and purposeful. Holt follows close behind, every sense on high alert. He knows that if the Drathen discover them now, they'll be dead before they even have a chance to reach the artifact. The ruins are even more imposing up close, towering spires of stone and metal, covered in alien glyphs and markings. Despite their age, they hum with a strange energy as if they are alive with the knowledge of the Zalari. Holt's eyes scan the surroundings, searching for any sign of danger. The silence is unnerving. Is this it? Holt asks, his voice hushed as they approach the entrance to a large chamber at the heart of the ruins. Lyra nods, her face set in a mask of determination. This is where it all began. The Zalari used to harness the power of the stars through this temple. It is the source of our strength, and the key to stopping the Drathen. They enter the chamber, and Holt's breath catches in his throat. The room is vast, its high ceiling adorned with intricate carvings of celestial bodies and the ancient symbols of the Zalari. At the center of the room lies a pedestal, its surface covered in glowing runes. On it rests a large, crystalline artifact, its surface swirling with iridescent energy. Holt steps forward, his gaze fixed on the artifact. It's beautiful, almost otherworldly, but there's something menacing about it too. He can feel the raw power emanating from it, like a thunderstorm waiting to break. Lyra approaches the pedestal, her expression both reverent and fearful. This is it, she whispers. The heart of the Zalari. She reaches out to touch the artifact, but her hand falters just before making contact. I'm not whole. I cannot wield it alone. Holt watches her closely, understanding now that this isn't just about the artifact's power, it's about her. The Zalari civilization, their people, their legacy, it's all tied to her. She carries the weight of an entire species on her shoulders, and she's asked him to help carry it. What do you need me to do? Holt asks, stepping closer. Lyra turns to face him, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. You must share your strength with me, Holt. Your humanity. Your will to protect. Only with both of us combined can we unlock its true potential. Holt feels a sharp pang in his chest. The magnitude of what she's asking hits him all at once. This isn't just about using a weapon. It's about sharing a bond, a connection that transcends species, that bridges the gap between their worlds. He knows this will change everything, but he doesn't hesitate. He steps forward and places his hand over hers, feeling the warmth of her skin beneath his fingers. Together, he says, his voice firm. And with that, they activate the heart of the Zalari. The chamber erupts in a blinding light, and Holt feels the power of the artifact surge through him, raw, unfiltered, and overwhelmingly intense. As the energy floods the room, Holt's body shudders, and for a moment he is certain he will not survive this. But then, something shifts. The light coalesces, and with it, a new force is born. The chamber pulses with light as the artifact hums to life, sending ripples of energy across the walls. Holt feels the power coursing through him, raw, unrelenting, as if the very essence of the universe is flowing through his veins. His head spins, and for a moment he wonders if he's about to lose control. The energy is so intense, so pure, it threatens to overwhelm him. But then Lyra's voice cuts through the storm of sensations. Hold on, Holt, she says, her voice clear even amid the overwhelming power. Focus. Focus on the bond between us. Holt doesn't need to be told twice. He locks his gaze onto Lyra, and as if guided by some unseen force, he centers himself. He feels the connection between them, a thread that pulls him deeper into the energy. The artifact, the heart of the Zalari, is not just a weapon. It is a conduit for something far greater, something ancient and powerful, and it requires more than just strength. It requires a bond, a unity to unlock its full potential. Holt takes a deep breath, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, the pulse of his blood beneath his skin. He feels Lyra beside him, her presence an anchor in the sea of raw power. Together they channel the energy of the artifact, pulling it into themselves, guiding it, shaping it. The ground beneath them trembles as the energy reaches its peak. The walls of the chamber crack with the force of the awakening power, and Holt's chest tightens as the artifact glows brighter, its light spilling out like a nova. It feels as though the entire universe is collapsing and expanding at once. For a moment, time seems to stop. Holt feels a deep connection to Lyra, to her people, to the history of the Zalari civilization. He understands now what she meant when she said the artifact is the essence of their species. It is not just a tool for destruction, it is a reminder of their strength, their legacy, and their power. A power that has been dormant for centuries, waiting for this moment. And in this moment, Holt realizes something else. The Drathan, these insectoid horrors that have hunted Lyra and her people to the brink of extinction, they are nothing compared to the force they've just unleashed. He feels the weight of his promise to protect her, to stand by her side, and he knows with certainty that this battle will end in victory. Together they are unstoppable. The light begins to subside, and the chamber falls silent. Holt blinks, his vision blurry from the intensity of the energy. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself standing in the same room, but something has changed. The air feels different, charged, alive with the energy of the artifact. The ruins around them seem to glow with a faint, otherworldly light. Lyra stands beside him, her expression unreadable. She seems both drained and empowered, her eyes flickering with an inner fire that Holt has never seen before. "It is done," she says quietly, her voice steady despite the exhaustion that clings to her. Holt looks at her, still trying to process the magnitude of what just happened. The artifact is still glowing faintly, its power lingering in the air. It's like the entire chamber has become a focal point of raw, untapped potential. "We've done it," Holt says, his voice filled with awe and disbelief. "But what happens now? What do we do with this power?" Lyra looks at him, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Now we destroy the Drathan." Before Holt can respond, a low rumble shakes the ground beneath them. The sound is distant at first, but it grows louder, nearer. Holt instinctively grips his weapon, his pulse quickening. Lyra's eyes narrow as she turns toward the source of the noise. "They're here," she says, her voice laced with quiet determination. Holt feels the surge of energy from the artifact within him, but he knows that it's not enough to stop the Drathan just yet. This power, this bond, has made them stronger, but it's not a one-time use. It's something they must carry with them, something that must be controlled. "Are you ready?" Holt asks, his gaze meeting Lyra's. She nods, her eyes alight with the power of her people. "I am." The two of them move quickly, making their way back to the entrance of the ruins. The Drathan are closing in, their shadows stretching across the landscape like a dark cloud. Holt can feel the weight of their presence, their hunger. But he also feels something else, something more powerful, more certain than anything he's ever felt before. Together they can win this. They reach the outer edges of the ruins, where the remnants of an ancient Zalari defense system still stand. The air is thick with the stench of the Drathan's approach, their monstrous forms visible in the distance. Holt takes a deep breath, his hand steady as he adjusts his grip on his weapon. Lyra raises her hand, her fingers crackling with energy. The power from the artifact surges through her, and the very ground beneath the Drathan begins to tremble. Holt watches in awe as Lyra lifts her other hand, sending a pulse of energy toward the approaching horde. The blast hits the first wave of Drathan with devastating force, throwing them back like ragdolls. Their exoskeletal armor shatters, and the Drathan screech in pain as they try to regroup. But Lyra doesn't stop. She moves with precision, her movements fluid and powerful. She raises her hands again, and another surge of energy erupts from the ground, sending shockwaves through the air. The Drathan hesitate, their confidence faltering in the face of such raw power. Holt steps forward, firing his pulse rifle into the fray. The blasts strike their targets with deadly accuracy, but the Drathan are adapting quickly, their numbers overwhelming. They close in again, and Holt knows that they can't keep this up forever. The longer they fight, the more the Drathan will learn about the power they're facing. "We need to finish this," Holt says, his voice resolute. "We can't give them any time to regroup." Lyra's eyes meet his, and for a moment, there's a silent understanding between them. Holt feels the weight of her power, of her legacy, and of the responsibility that now rests on their shoulders. This isn't just about survival, it's about something greater. Something that will change the fate of the galaxy. With a final, determined gesture, Lyra extends her arms wide, calling upon the full power of the artifact. A massive surge of energy erupts from the ground, a wave of destruction that sweeps across the battlefield. The Drathan scream as they are engulfed in the blast, their bodies disintegrating under the intensity of the Zalari's wrath. When the dust settles, Holt looks around, breathless. The battlefield is silent. The Drathan are gone. They've won. But Holt knows that this victory comes at a cost. The power they've unleashed has changed them both. The galaxy will never be the same again. The silence that follows the battle is deafening. Holt's ears ring with the aftershock of the explosion, the air still crackling with residual energy from the artifact's release. He stands amidst the destruction, staring at the smoking remnants of what had once been an imposing army of Drathan. Their bodies are scattered across the landscape, reduced to little more than ash and shattered exoskeletons, their terrifying presence snuffed out in an instant. But even as he surveys the battlefield, a lingering unease settles over him. The cost of this victory is not something he can easily ignore. The raw power of the artifact, the energy that Lyra has channeled, still hums in the air, almost vibrating with the force of the battle. The ruins that had once been a peaceful monument to the Zalari now stand as a testament to destruction, both the Drathan and a part of their own past obliterated in the wake of their desperate fight. Lyra stands beside him, her breathing heavy but steady. Her silver skin still glows faintly, but her expression is weary. The bond they've formed over the course of this journey has grown stronger, and yet Holt senses the toll it's taken on her. Her eyes are shadowed, her posture slumped, as if the very weight of the power she's unleashed has drained her. She turns to him, her violet eyes filled with a mix of sadness and gratitude. "It's over," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the wind that stirs the remains of the battlefield. "We've won?" Holt doesn't reply immediately. He watches the distant horizon, where the last remnants of the Drathan retreat are visible, their ships fleeing into the dark expanse of space. There's a quiet satisfaction in knowing they've defeated such a dangerous foe, but Holt can't shake the feeling that something has changed within him. The connection he shares with Lyra, deep, powerful, and intimate, has altered the course of his life, but at what cost? "What happens now?" he asks, his voice filled with uncertainty. He turns to her, his gaze searching as if looking for some kind of answer, some reassurance. Lyra meets his eyes, her expression softening. "Now we rebuild. I can't undo what the Drathan have done to my people. I can't bring back those we've lost, but I can ensure that their sacrifice isn't in vain." She pauses, her eyes flicking toward the horizon. "The Zalari were a peaceful people, Holt. We didn't seek conflict. We didn't know how to fight for survival. Until now. But we've seen the galaxy's true nature, and I won't let it slip back into darkness." Holt understands what she means, even though the weight of those words hangs heavy between them. Lyra's resolve is undeniable, but there's something darker lurking in her eyes, a weariness that comes from the knowledge that victory doesn't erase the scars left behind. The artifact may have destroyed the Drathan, but it also drained her of something vital, something more than just physical strength. Holt can see it in the way she moves, in the way her hands tremble ever so slightly as she brushes the dirt from her armor. "Lyra," Holt says softly, his voice full of concern. "Are you okay?" She smiles, but it's a strained smile, one that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "I will be," she says, though Holt isn't sure she believes it herself. "But the power we used, it's not something that can be wielded without consequences." Holt steps closer to her, his hand instinctively reaching out. "What do you mean?" Lyra hesitates, her gaze distant as she looks at the ruins around them. "The artifact, the heart of the Zalari, it is a part of me. A part of my people's soul. I have absorbed its power, but I feel it taking more than I can give. If I continue to use it this way, I don't know what will happen." The weight of her words presses down on Holt's chest. He can feel it, the strain of the bond, the weight of the power, the shift in the air. The artifact may have been the key to their survival, but it's also a burden, one that Lyra carries alone. And Holt realizes with a sinking feeling that the woman standing beside him, the one who has become his protector, his ally and something more, may not be the same after this. The artifact may have saved them from the Drathan, but it has taken a part of her in return. "You need rest," Holt says, his voice firm but gentle. "We both do. Let's get out of here. There's nothing more we can do here." Lyra nods, but there's a weariness in her movements that tells Holt just how much it costs her to even acknowledge it. She takes a deep breath and looks back at the ruins one last time. "We'll need to find the others. My people, there are others out there. They need to know that the Drathan are gone, that they are safe. Then we'll find them," Holt says, his tone resolute. "We'll rebuild. Together." With that, they begin the trek back to the ship, Holt leading, his pulse rifle at the ready, and Lyra beside him, the last of her people, her body heavy with the weight of everything they've lost and everything they've fought for. The journey back to the ship is long, and the silence between them stretches for hours. Holt can feel the weight of her thoughts pressing down on her, but he doesn't press her to talk. He knows, deep down, that there's more to Lyra's burden than just the aftermath of battle. It's the heavy realization that they've changed the course of the galaxy, that the power they've unlocked will ripple out into the stars, and its consequences will follow them long after the Drathan are gone. As they approach the ship, Holt's comm unit crackles to life. The familiar voice of his commander, Lieutenant Kara Jensen, comes through the static. "Holt, do you copy?" "I hear you, Lieutenant," Holt replies, his voice steady. "We've received reports from the fleet," Kara says, her tone grave. "The Drathan have been eradicated. They've been wiped out completely. But there's something else." Holt's stomach tightens. "What's going on?" "The Zalari are not alone," Kara continues, her voice heavy with concern. "There are other species out there who've been watching. They've seen what you've done and they want to know what comes next." Lyra looks up at Holt, her expression unreadable. She hasn't spoken, but her eyes speak volumes. The war may be over, but the consequences of their actions, of the power they've unlocked, are only just beginning. "We're going to have to face them, Holt," Lyra says quietly. "We can't run from this." Holt looks at her, and for a moment he doesn't know what the future holds. But he knows this much: whatever comes next, they will face it together. The road ahead is uncertain, but it's one they'll walk side by side, united in a bond forged by battle, power, and the weight of an entire civilization's future. "Then we'll face it," Holt says, his voice unwavering. "Together." The journey from the battlefield to the ship is quiet, but the air is charged with anticipation. Holt can feel it just as he can feel the growing uncertainty inside Lyra. The victory they've achieved over the Drathan has brought them a temporary peace, but it's clear to both of them that the real battle is only just beginning. As they approach the ship's landing zone, Holt's mind races. The comms with Lieutenant Kara Jensen had left him with more questions than answers. Other species in the galaxy are watching, waiting. They've seen the destruction the heart of the Zalari unleashed, and they are undoubtedly wondering what role Lyra, and by extension humanity, will play in the future. The galaxy is on the brink of change, and Holt knows that whatever happens next will shape the fate of countless civilizations. The sleek, silver ship stands in the distance, its silhouette illuminated by the rising twin suns of the planet. It looks almost serene in the quiet of the early morning. But Holt knows that serenity is fleeting. The galaxy is never truly peaceful, especially not now when the ripples of their actions are sure to be felt across every corner of known space. Lyra moves beside him, her eyes scanning the horizon, her face set in a mask of resolve. She has grown quieter over the past few hours, and Holt wonders what thoughts are weighing heavily on her. Her strength, her power, has saved them all, but it has also left her vulnerable. The strain of wielding the artifact, of tapping into the ancient energy that flows through her people's legacy, has drained her in ways he can't fully understand. He feels the bond they share, stronger now than ever, but there's something in her gaze that tells him she's not yet ready to confront what lies ahead. As they board the ship, the familiar hum of the engines fills the air, and the crew greets them with cautious optimism. Kara, standing near the bridge, gives them both a nod of respect. Her eyes, however, flicker with something more. Curiosity. Apprehension. She knows, like everyone else, that the galaxy is watching. Holt and Lyra have been thrust into a new role, whether they're ready for it or not. "We've been briefed on the situation," Kara says, motioning for them to follow her to the command center. "The Drathan threat is over. The rest of the fleet has already begun the process of securing the sectors. But, as you know, that's not the end." Holt nods, his hands clasped behind his back. "I know. The galaxy has seen what we're capable of. And that changes everything." Lyra steps forward, her voice calm but resolute. "The artifact we wielded was more than just a weapon. It is part of my people's legacy. The Zalari were not conquerors. We did not seek power, but now that it has awakened, I fear what others might seek to do with it." Kara's brow furrows. "I was going to get to that. We've received transmissions from several galactic councils, some from the core worlds, others from more distant, fringe systems. Everyone wants to know what comes next. What role the Zalari will play in the balance of power." Lyra sighs, her shoulders sagging slightly as the weight of the situation settles in. "They see us as a force to be reckoned with. And in truth we are. But power can corrupt, and I fear that others will try to use us or our power to further their own agendas. The galaxy is fractured. We've seen it. Old alliances are breaking apart and new ones are forming." Holt steps forward, his jaw set. "We can't let that happen. Not after everything we've fought for." The room goes quiet, and Holt feels the gravity of their new reality pressing down on them. For years, the Zalari have been a peaceful people, watching from the shadows as the galaxy tore itself apart. They didn't interfere. They didn't seek to lead. But now they're thrust into the center of it all. The heart of the Zalari has given them power, power that can reshape the galaxy. The question is, how will they use it? We need to be cautious, Lyra continues, her voice unwavering. The artifact has already taken much from me. I cannot continue to wield it the way I did. But I also cannot let it fall into the wrong hands. Kara nods, understanding the gravity of the situation. We'll need to prepare. The factions that are watching us now will try to form alliances, make promises and make threats. We need to be ready for anything. I agree, Holt says, his mind already turning over the possibilities. We need to establish our own terms. We can't let anyone dictate the future. The ship hums again as the engine power comes online, and they begin to leave the surface of the planet. As they break through the atmosphere, Holt gazes out at the stars. It's a beautiful sight, one he's seen countless times. But now it feels different. The galaxy is no longer just a collection of distant stars. It feels closer, more immediate. And for the first time, Holt feels as though the weight of the universe is on his shoulders. Lyra joins him at the viewport, standing by his side. She says nothing, but he feels the presence of her thoughts beside his own. I don't know if I'm ready for this, Lyra admits, her voice soft. Holt turns to her, his gaze steady. No one is ever truly ready. But that doesn't mean we can't do what's right. She meets his gaze, her eyes softening. I'm not sure I know what's right anymore. You'll figure it out, Holt says, placing a hand on her shoulder. We will. The ship accelerates into the dark expanse of space, leaving the planet, and their past, behind. Holt knows that they can never go back to the way things were. The galaxy has already taken notice, and soon, every corner of it will come calling, demanding answers, pledging alliances, offering promises. But Holt also knows that Lyra's strength, her resolve, will see them through. Together they can navigate this new world, one where power is both a blessing and a curse. They may not have all the answers, but they have each other. And in the end, that may be the most important thing of all. As they leave the planet behind, the stars ahead of them seem to shine a little brighter. The galaxy is full of uncertainty, but Holt and Lyra stand ready to face whatever comes next. The future is unwritten, but together they will write it. And with that, the ship disappears into the vast unknown, the dawn of a new age just beginning. The ship floats in the quiet void of space, a speck in the infinite sea of stars. As the journey continues, Holt stands at the helm, staring at the star map that stretches before him. The galaxy is vast, and the mission ahead is monumental. The weight of their decisions presses down on him with each passing moment, but he's resolute. There's no turning back now. Beside him, Lyra watches the stars with an intensity that speaks volumes. Her hand rests lightly against the console, her body weary from the burden of what she's carried and the power that still courses through her veins. The bond between them has only deepened since the battle, a silent understanding that passes without words. She knows that her people's future and her own is no longer in her hands alone. It belongs to the universe. Where do we start? Holt asks, his voice low, as if not wanting to disturb the delicate calm that surrounds them. Lyra's gaze flickers to the map, then back to the distant stars. The Zalari were never a part of the Galactic Council. We were too peaceful, too isolated. But that era is over now. The galaxy has seen our power, and there will be those who wish to control it. Others who will come seeking alliances. And some who will fear it. She pauses, her thoughts clearly far away. We must be strategic. But I won't let anyone use us as tools of destruction. The heart of the Zalari has brought us back into the galaxy's fold, but it has also opened a door we can't close. I need your help, Holt. More than ever. Holt turns his head to her, his expression softening. I'm with you, Lyra. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. Her eyes search his for a moment, and for a brief second, Holt sees a flicker of the vulnerability she's been hiding. The artifact may have granted her power beyond measure, but it has also left her changed, tired, burdened, uncertain of the path ahead. We need to make contact with the other species, Lyra continues, her voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. I've heard of the Terran Alliance, the United Systems, and the Dominion of Voria. They all want a piece of the puzzle now that the Drathan threat has been eradicated. But it won't be as simple as forging alliances. There are factions, old and new, that will try to manipulate us. Holt nods. And you're not sure who to trust. Lyra's eyes narrow, a flicker of resolve crossing her face. Trust is a luxury we can't afford anymore. We need to be careful about where we place our allegiance. One wrong move and we could be seen as a threat, or a tool. A chill runs down Holt's spine as he considers the weight of her words. The power that the Zalari hold, the power that they now share, could easily be misused. He knows the galaxy well enough to understand that in a universe where power and politics intersect, nothing is ever as it seems. The lines between friend and foe blur quickly, and the wrong choice could lead to the fall of civilizations. The ship hums softly as it continues to glide through the stars, and for a moment, there's a sense of tranquility in the silence between them. But Holt knows this peace won't last. The galaxy is stirring, and soon they will face the consequences of their actions. How the Zalari handle their newfound position will determine the course of history. Have you thought about what you want, Lyra? Holt asks, his voice quiet. What do you hope for now that the Drathan are gone? Her gaze flickers back to him, and for a brief moment, there's a glimmer of something in her eyes, something that isn't burden or resolve. I don't know, she admits, her voice almost wistful. I don't know if I can ever go back to the way things were. But I hope we can help rebuild what's been lost. We may be the last of the Zalari, but the galaxy is vast. There are others out there who need our help. The question is, can we offer it without losing ourselves in the process? Holt watches her for a long moment, the weight of her words settling in his chest. She's right. The galaxy is full of hurt and destruction, but it's also full of possibility. He's seen what they can accomplish when they stand together, when they're united. The universe may be uncertain, but there's strength in that uncertainty, strength in their bond. I believe in you, Lyra, Holt says quietly. You won't lose yourself. Not while I'm here. She turns to him, her expression softening, and for a moment, the universe seems to stand still. The tension between them, born from their shared struggle and growing connection, fades, leaving only the quiet understanding that they are no longer alone. The quiet hum of the ship's engines fills the silence between them, and Lyra nods slowly. Then we move forward. Together. Holt watches her closely, feeling the weight of the future pressing down on them. Whatever lies ahead, they will face it as one. They've walked through the fire, and now they must navigate the delicate balance between the power they hold and the responsibilities it brings. A signal flashes on the ship's control panel, interrupting the moment. It's a coded transmission, a request for communication from the United Systems. The Terran Alliance is ready to discuss terms. A new chapter is beginning, and the galaxy is waiting. Lyra's hand hovers over the console, her expression focused. It's time, she says softly. Let's see what they have to offer. Holt steps back, his hand resting on his weapon. There's no turning back now. The galaxy is watching, waiting to see how the Zalari will shape the future. Will they be the saviors of the galaxy, or will they become another empire seeking to impose their will upon others? Whatever happens next, Holt knows one thing for certain. They will write their own destiny. The universe may be vast, but it's theirs to shape. Together. And with that, the ship's communication systems crackle to life, signaling the start of a new journey, one that will determine the future of the galaxy itself. As the stars stretch out before them, Lyra takes a deep breath. The path ahead is uncertain, but in this moment she is not alone. They are not alone. And that, she realizes, is enough. The end. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more exciting HFY stories. Your support means the world to us. And make sure to tap the bell icon so you never miss an update. Stay tuned for our next adventure, and until then, keep exploring the stars. See you in the next video.